Hello there. A west-east split is perhaps the easiest way to describe what's happening in Europe at the moment. We've got heat warnings out for Spain as it's blue sky, sunshine, but an extensive heat starting to build yet again. We've got sunshine across much of France as well, but shower clouds further east, and some of those showers could be extensive. So weather warnings out here, stretching down through Germany, the Czech Republic, down into the Balkans, central and southern Italy. We could have some fairly sharp, thundery downpours through the middle part of the day. Not looking too bad across Turkey, across Greece, and generally through the Mediterranean. It's fine and settled. I've talked about that heat building in central Spain. A few scattered showers breaking out potentially into northern Portugal. France looks fine, 26 degrees, very pleasant indeed. The Low Countries, Germany, down into the Alps. That's where we'll see the more extensive thundery downpours breaking out. And they could push their way a little bit further east, so they might affect mainland Greece and also into Turkey. That's worth bearing in mind after the horrendous weather that we had in Halkidiki just a few days ago. So that's the story in Europe. Let's take a look at what to expect over the next 5 days. A few scattered showers, but generally speaking, it's a fine, settled and quite a warm story across much of Western Europe. Further east, plenty of showers likely to break out next week into Moscow, and cooler than it has been. Hello there. Weather events this weekend across North America are likely to be dominated by what's happening through the Gulf of Mexico at the moment, with the second named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, Barry, starting to take shape. You can see it quite clearly on the satellite picture. It is going to push its way steadily north, expected to make landfall close to the Louisiana coastline during the early hours of Saturday morning. It's then going to slowly travel inland across the lower Mississippi Valley. Heavy rainfall is the real issue here. It's going to bring some extreme flooding. On top of that, we're looking at coastal surge as well of 3 to 6 feet, and the Mississippi River levels are extremely high at the moment. So this is certainly going to be a story to keep a close eye on. Ahead of it, there'll be some pretty intense showers moving their way up towards Atlanta, Georgia, and Nashville, Tennessee too. Now to the north of that, it's dry and settled. It's pretty warm as well across parts of New York and Washington, and it's going to stay like that through the weekend with decent spells of sunshine and temperatures into the mid-80s. Now across the west coast, it's a slightly different and a slightly quieter story. There's a little bit of fair weather cloud moving its way through western Canada, down through British Columbia into Oregon. Fine, settled and sunny though through much of that California coastline, and that's how it's going to stay for the next few days. We will see the cloud starting to thin a little, but sunshine at a premium potentially for Seattle, a pleasant 72 in San Francisco. Hello there. A forecast for Mexico, Central America and the Caribbean all coming up shortly. But first of all, let's start off in South America. Nothing particularly untoward to point out to you. You can see this fairly angry looking cloud. That is some sharp showers that's been moving its way through Uruguay and maybe southern Brazil through the course of Friday and into Saturday. We've also got some wet and windy weather down to the south, and we've got our usual rains up into the north. Now, not as extensive as they can be at this time of year, but Venezuela, parts of Colombia, also into parts of western Brazil seeing some sharper showers as well. A scattering along that northeast coast, but generally speaking, Brazil is fine and settled. A pleasant 26 degrees into Rio de Janeiro. There are the showers that I pointed out to you, and some wet and windy weather affecting the southern tip of Chile, falling as snow across the higher ground. So the city forecasts then show little in the way of change to the trend over the next 5 days. The best of the sunshine, Buenos Aires. Mexico, showery over the next few days. Central America, a few sharp showers, more extensive down into Costa Rica and Panama. A few isolated showers perhaps through Cuba, but most of the Caribbean is fine and settled. Showers are pretty fleeting, and we still keep that sunshine and the warmth. So the city forecasts reflect this quite nicely. Yes, a few showers into Havana. Elsewhere, it's plain sailing. Temperatures into the low 30s. Enjoy. Hello there. Let's take a look at the weather forecast then for Africa. We've seen some extreme heat in Libya and also parts of Egypt over the last few days. It's still pretty hot there. Our seasonal rains through the equatorial belt, as you can see quite clearly on the satellite picture, not as extensive as they can be. Heaviest of which really across that west coast, affecting the Ivory Coast in particular. And then further south, well, we have seen a weather front that's moved through parts of South Africa, and that has brought a cooler, fresher feel. Now, in terms of the city forecast for the next 5 days, it looks somewhat like this. Temperatures will be all over the place really into Cape Town with each day, and much cooler by Wednesday as we see some rain in the forecast. But further north and east, well, it's fairly consistent across Casablanca with temperatures into the mid-20s. Now let's take a look at the Middle East, because it's all about the wind direction here at the moment. A localised shamal likely across parts of Iraq and Kuwait. That could bring some lifted dust, and yet again the heat building. High 40s not out of the question. A little more comfortable down through the United Arab Emirates over the next few days, but it is the localised shamal that could bring some poor visibility, some lifted dust as we go through the afternoon. So that's Saturday. Looking further ahead, not that much in the way of change through the city forecast. It remains hot, dry and sunny, pretty much as you'd expect at this time of year. Hello there. Let's take a look at the weather forecast then for South Asia, where the monsoon rain still very much an active feature at the moment, particularly over the northeast, where we have got weather warnings in force, and you can see some pretty intense cloud, and that's where the heaviest of the rain stretching down through the Himalayas, affecting Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Bihar, across to Bangladesh and Myanmar. So, as I say, red weather warnings have been issued. We're also seeing some pretty intense showers across the west coast, not quite as extensive as they have been in recent days. Now to Central Asia, it's all about the heat at the moment across parts of Kazakhstan, down into Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. We're seeing those temperatures above the average for the time of year. Some sharp showers to come here. Stronger winds down through Pakistan and northwest India could bring some lifted dust as well. There, the sharper showers across that west coast. But as I say, the most extensive rain across northeastern states of India over the next few days, also stretching into Bangladesh and Myanmar, and the brighter greens and yellows denoting the intensity of that rainfall. So city forecast then show some sharper showers continuing to Islamabad and Colombo. We could continue to have dust a feature with the strengthening winds, so dust storms possibility into Karachi. That's it. Take care. Hello there. A forecast for Australia and New Zealand coming up shortly. But first of all, let's start off in Indonesia, where if we look at the satellite picture, you can see some shower cloud, but the shower's not as extensive as they can be at this time of year. Most of the active weather at the moment is across China and southern Japan. Now, the localised Mayu front continues to be a feature across central and southern China. To the north of that, it's fine, but we'll see some heavier rain as well, tied into an area of low pressure across southern Japan for the start of the weekend. So the brighter colours denoting the intensity of that rainfall, largely fine and quiet into Vietnam. And as you can see across the Philippines, we are picking up some showers, but generally through Malaysia and Indonesia, as I've already said, not as extensive as they can be. So our city forecasts show a good deal of dry weather, some scattered showers on and off throughout the next 5 days. Let's take a look at Australia. Now, high pressure calming things down quite nicely across the west, but we're seeing some windy weather through the Bight, affecting Victoria down into Tasmania. Here it's cool and disappointing, and pretty unsettled across New Zealand, with an area of low pressure developing, bringing some heavy rain for the start of the weekend, and that is going to sweep its way steadily east. Also some gale force gusts of winds, making it feel rather disappointing. So in the city forecast, that reflects that quite nicely. Dry, settled and sunny into Sydney. We keep the rain on and off into Melbourne, and Wellington stays disappointing.